It's time for Done Being Single with your hosts, Treva and Robbie Sharf. If you're dating the same type over and over again, making the same mistakes and not finding love, then you're not done being single. What you need is some tough love dating intervention, Treva and Robbie style. Whether you're new to dating or have been dating forever, we've got you covered. Now, here are your hosts, Treva and Robbie Sharf.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Done Being Single. I've got my good friend and colleague, Allana Pratt, here today. This may look a little different, seeing as that Robbie's a little under the weather, and so I've been tasked with doing this myself today. I am done being single, and I guess I'm single again doing this show. And Allana's right here with me. I don't even have to bring her on. She's right here. She's kind of helping me through this, losing my my single podcaster's virginity, right? You're kind of helping. So thank you for doing this with me alone. I love you. You are a returning champ. You've been on the show. I think this is your third time, so third time returning champ, and I thank you so much. I'm going to read your bio because it's really incredible, as are you. Allana Pratt is a global media personality and go-to authority for those ready to heal heartbreak, live unapologetically, and attract a soul-shaking relationship. This Ivy League grad is the author of 6 books, has interviewed Whoopi Goldberg and Alanis Morissette, and hosts the edgy podcast Intimate Conversations, where listeners learn how to become the one, find the one, which keeps the one. For the past 20 years, Allana's brave willingness to heal her own heart makes her authentic, relatable, and credible in her proven coaching programs and intimacy retreats. Her wisdom, exuberance, and raw transparency inspire the deep soul work required to create a solid, intimate relationship with one's self first, which naturally attracts and enhances an ideal, open-hearted partnership that lasts. Amen. She's a small-town Canadian girl living in rural Wyoming who is honored to love the shit out of humanity. She is also quoted in my new book, Done Being Single, A Late Bloomer's Guide to Love. Allana?
Thank you for having me back, sister. And I love Robbie. And I also love that we just get to have some girl time today. So
I know,
it all worked
right?
perfectly.
Okay, this is kind of cool, and I got to do this, it's good to do this, God forbid, days like this when, right, the show must go on.
Yeah.
So here we go, and I couldn't have picked a perfect person to hold my hand and get me through this, and after we get through this, I'm going to have a cigarette, just kidding, because it's kind of like sex, right? Okay, so I'm going to read. You were so nice to give me a quote, and this was actually from a previous show on being picky. And I have some feelings about what pickiness means, and I tend to think it's less about, as we were talking at the beginning, at the top of the show, less about selectivity and more about insecurity. And I think that when people say they're too picky, it's not really about just no one's good enough for me. It is something I think about not being good enough for anybody. And maybe I'm reading between the lines or looking too deep in this, but I've heard it too much. I've heard it and I was single for so long, and people often said to me, asked me, you're just too picky. And was I? And was there something else underneath that was going on that made me wait and no, not this one, not that one, no, thank you, passing on all kinds of actually good people. Was it just my pace or my rhythm? Was it just who I was, or was there something kind of at play? So so examining my own long time singleness, and Robbie's actually, right, because he was single till he was 56. Has been kind of an interesting self-reflection for me in understanding why it took so long. So I'm going to read to you I'm going to read to the audience, rather, what you said, and we're going to talk about this, okay, a little bit more in depth. All right, here we go. One of the things to look at. Oh, okay, so here we go. For example, people who are too picky really aren't picky. They're really just insecure and use the "I'm just picky" as an excuse to hide it. In our episode, Too Picky or Not Picky Enough, intimacy expert Allana Pratt backed me up with this. One of the things to look at if you're too picky is it's often an excuse to not get vulnerable and to not let them see your wobbly parts. If you're not picky enough, you haven't done the inner work to soothe the little you who doesn't feel good enough to love, deserving of love, and so you go for anybody. Do you have a pulse? Do you have a checkbook? Let's do it. Let's get married. You're not balanced on the inside, so it's always important to do the next level of intimacy with self and body and the divine on the inside. Let's have that communion on the inside, and then, oh my God, it becomes so easy. Here I am, the good, the bad, the ugly. Nice to meet you. And yes, I totally, and I say after that, to that I'd add that when you feel undeserving of love, not only do you go for anybody, you also go for nobody. So it can keep you out of the game entirely, this concept of being too picky. It can make you go for the wrong people, and it can make you go for no people. So with that said, first of all, thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you for being you. And you know how I feel about you. I'm a huge fan. I think you're awesome. I think you provide just an amazing service to people. So I just want to preface everything by saying that. So go ahead. Let's talk about what you said. Let's talk about your evolving feelings on pickiness. Maybe you still feel the same, maybe a little different. Times have changed. What say you, Allana?
What say I?
Yes.
What say you? I believe that when we start dating, the most important thing to focus on is, am I reflecting on this whole experience inside out from wholeness? Or am I dating from emptiness and I need something on the outside to feel better about myself, feel safe, feel good enough, feel approved of? Because the definition of picky from empty and the definition of picky from full is two different realities. So I feel the same, that if we have done our work, we're whole. We don't need a partner. We choose one. We know we're a hot mess sometimes. We know we're badass other times. We're really whole, not perfect, but whole. And then you meet somebody. I don't think you'd use the word picky. I think you just say there isn't an alignment. There isn't an alignment. They're a lovely person, but I don't feel more around them. They don't feel more around me. It's pleasant, it's lovely, but we're not actually creating more for humanity. We're not awakening each other's dormant evolutionary qualities by being together. And that's not picky. That's being honest and brave and saying this is out of alignment. So I think the word picky really only lives in the insecure world, or in the empty world, or in the I need him to complete me world, or I need to be in a relationship so I look good to everyone else, and they shut up at every single holiday. Are you still single? Are you still whatever? It's an externally driven desire, and then it triggers those two insecurities. Like you just said, it's everything or it's nothing. And so we're too picky because we're afraid to be vulnerable. Or we're not picky enough and we'll settle, all because of the emptiness on the inside. So the main thing to focus on is to slow down and tell the truth. Feel, wow, am I whole going into dating, or am I waiting for dating to somehow make me good enough, safe enough?
Yeah. I agree entirely. I think that there is always something more to the story. When I know that when you work with clients, right, you must hear all kinds of reasons and excuses and things like, oh, I can't meet anybody. There's nobody in my town, or, we don't align. We don't vibe. That I don't know. I kind of go, wait a second. You're great. What is it that you're not seeing in yourself that I see? I mean, I with my own clients, what is really holding you back? Are you afraid? Are you afraid of getting hurt? Are you afraid of getting rejected? I know that keeps a lot of people out of the game. It's kind of like there's an old theory that people, particularly women, stay overweight on purpose. They stay overweight.
Wow.
They stay overweight because it excludes them, or it precludes them from having to open up and be vulnerable and potentially get their feelings hurt and get rejected. So they stay in a state of unattractiveness, maybe, to keep people away. So I understand that, and I think that dynamic is kind of not necessarily with your physical appearance, although it can be deeply, woven into our psyches. Yeah. Are people that keep people away at a distance because, name it,
Yeah. Well, I think what we're pointing to is the whole reason why I am a relationship coach. I certainly do help people with divorce or dating or what have you. But instead of those areas or labels, I go right to the core, which is intimacy. And when you have an intimate relationship with yourself, that doesn't mean that every day is happy. That means when you're sad, you stay connected to yourself. When you're furious, you stay connected to yourself. When you're panicked, you stay connected to yourself. When you're orgasmically alive, you stay connected to yourself. When you're like, oh my God, can I really have this good? And keep your heart open, you stay connected to yourself. So it's as dark as it goes, or it's as light as it goes. You stay connected to yourself. You stay home with yourself. You have your own back. So you can physically imagine your spine is super strong and the front of your body is soft and open and your walls are down. And you have your own back. So you trust yourself. But in that having your own back, you also, with that openness in the front, you're surrendered to God, to the divine, to the universe. So you're masculine and feminine, all within yourself, whole. And when we are in this place, as I said before, it's not like just because you have an intimate relationship with yourself, you're happy every day. You're not. You're human. And I think there's a massive fantasy going on out there that you're going to find the perfect person and then you're never going to get hurt.
Right.
Sorry. They are human too. Right. And so they're going to have their own journey of it, their own intimate relationship with themselves and you. And the idea is to really spiritually grow the F up and realize you're going to get hurt again. And you know what else? You're going to hurt someone else too. And that doesn't mean you're evil or they're evil. It doesn't mean you're trying. It's not like you're doing it on purpose. It's just called evolution. It's called growth. If we're going to try new things and have new adventures and new education and new experiences, first time you get on the bike, you don't know how to ride it. You fall off lots of times. So same with the relationship. So if we could cultivate enough we could call it confidence, wholeness, home, a refusal to reject self in the face of any circumstance on the outside, then we're free. Then we can live unapologetically. Then we can risk. Then we can be discerning. Then we can open. We can love. Because when they hurt us, consciously or unconsciously, probably unconsciously, we don't blame. We don't hide. We don't close down. We don't emasculate. We be brave. Just like we've learned how to be brave with ourselves. When we're scared or mad or sad or ashamed, we can be brave with them. We can be human. I like the sandwiches. I'm pretty sure I'm just making this up in my head because I know you love me or I know where your intentions are so good, like something of gratitude or allowance at the beginning of the sandwich. And then in the middle of the sandwich, ouch.
Right.
And that's all we need to say. Just ouch, just anything not to blame nor to hide, but to be and sit in that fire of vulnerability and authenticity and transparency. And then on the other side of the sandwich, tell me what's true for you, because we could have misunderstood the whole thing. Tell me how you feel about this. What are your thoughts? And that way of being allows you to no longer be afraid of being hurt and not get out there and date, because come what may, you're okay. You're okay.
I know that, and you know that, and we can objectively tell our clients and even our viewers right now that, right? Because it's always easier for someone, outside of yourself, to tell you. Like I'm, like I was saying earlier, I see the greatness in people, and it's difficult at times to drill in and. How do you convince your clients? How do we convince the people that are watching here right now, which is, it's a tall order to attain all of these things that you're talking about. They're these beautiful, wonderful, expansive things that we all hope to achieve. Security, self-confidence, self-worth, self-esteem. Sometimes, not easy. Even for the best of us, it's tall order. It's tough, right? So curious, how do you tell your clients? How do we tell viewers right now? Where do we start for the people that are crippled with fear, that are shut down, that are blocked, that are putting up obstacles? To love, to their pursuit, to their dream. Where do you start?
Yeah. A couple of things you said were very telling. I never convince anyone of anything, because who am I talking to if I need to convince somebody? Their mind and their ego. That's not where this issue is. It is not in the mind. If you could imagine a iceberg, the tippy top of the iceberg is where you have your beliefs and your stories and where I need to convince, and it all needs to make sense. And this very small little mind where you need to do 10 more affirmations on the hour, every hour, just to friggin' keep it together. It doesn't work. Right? In general, I have nothing against therapists, but there's a lot of statistics that say talk therapy is great for coping, but it's not anywhere near the realm of lasting healing, which is why I am a coach and facilitator, not a therapist, because it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
And it hasn't worked for so many of my clients. So we don't want to convince anybody of anything.
That's a whole other episode you and I could have. Just that alone. I'm so with you on the therapy thing. Anyway, go on before I get.
Thank you. I'm glad you agree, because statistically, I've got lots of proof and studies from the government and PTSD vets, and there's a lot of work out there to support this. I'm not trying to be right about it. I'm just trying to give facts to help people of why they might be frustrated that therapy isn't giving them the results they want. So that's number one. We're not here to convince anybody of anything, nor those other words that you used, achieving or accomplishing. That's also outside in. That's also a trap. Here's our worth in one hand, and here's our accomplishments in another. They're separate, but so many of us have been raised that they're actually combined or on top of one another, that I'm only good enough, I only have worth if I achieve something. I'm only good enough if I have accomplished something. So we don't want to convince, nor are we trying to look outside in to achieve something on the outside. That's what's created the problem in the first place. Right. Safety is when I achieve the boyfriend. Approval and worth is when I get picked by some dude, right? Again, outside in. So we don't want to go anywhere near achievement, anywhere near accomplishment, or anywhere near convincing, because that's just going to perpetuate the problem and actually make it worse. Because once you find him, he's the source of your worth. Got to keep him. Oh, better settle. Better not say that. Better, tell a lie here so he doesn't leave me. All the things. It's just going to make it worse. So all we do is the opposite. We go underneath the surface of the iceberg and we begin to feel. So my entire 10 Allana Pratt method processes, this journey I take people through to heal core intimacy issues once and for all. It's all beneath the surface. It's all in the subconscious. It's all primary consciousness. It is not thought-based. It's somatic. It's held in the body. It is your autonomic nervous system's response to traumas as a child or triggers that have never been resolved. And your system, at least mine was, and the reason why I walk my talk so well is because I've been as messed up as the best of them. So I was hypervigilantly caught in a level 4 trauma, unaware. Very high achiever, cum laude graduate of a Columbia University, written all these books, helps all these people, because as long as I don't stop spinning, I feel safe. I feel safe because I was looping there.
Safety.
Yes.
Safety. So
was not found on the inside for me until I have done, this work that I've been doing for 20 years. But now that all the quantum psychology, the spiritual technology, the somatic experiential, and also psychedelic, the use of psychedelic medicine, not to go out to tier 3. I know who I am. I know I'm one with the universe. Did that 25 years ago on ayahuasca, but it didn't solve any of these safety issues on the inside. It didn't heal disassociation, and it didn't resolve the hypervigilance. Yeah. And so the use of psychedelic medicine that I'm being trained at now from the Psychedelic Somatic Institute, it is the use of tier 1 medicine. So ketamine, cannabis, blindfolded, all about body sensations. And it's helping with my facilitators, and now I facilitate others, to get our autonomic nervous system all the way back to zero, which is that place of wholeness. And we just mentioned safety and worth from the inside out. No matter whether you're single or in a relationship, no matter how big your butt is, no matter how big your bank account is, like, it has nothing to do with the outside, nor can anybody take it away. That is freedom. Right. That is peace. And that is sexy, because a man will feel, or a woman, whoever you're interested in, will feel that you're not there to manipulate them to be a certain way. They feel a sense of freedom and spaciousness around you, because you are the embodiment of that freedom and safety from within.
Yeah, I think safety is the key word in everything. I mean, I think people go to great lengths to protect themselves. Yeah. And I think that being picky is a way to protect themselves, and in a very negative, sort of non-productive way. It's really not protecting you. It's actually, it's so counterproductive to anything in life where you're called upon to step up, to show up. I don't care if it's work, if it's professional, if it's dating related, anytime. I mean, we're all called upon to assert ourselves, right? And to make ourselves vulnerable, and to potentially, subject ourselves to rejection. It's going to happen. It's life. This is what it's all about. So the I'm too picky, or, I'm just so selective, is I'm not buying it entirely. And I do think that there is a way to break down those barriers, okay? And I'm with you on the therapy thing. And I'm just going to say this. I love it. It has worked for me in certain times for certain reasons. And I am a somatic. I do have seen a somatic therapist, particularly after.
You used to be in fitness all the time, so you must be very connected to your body.
I tend to put everything back into my body. Okay, I put anger, I put grief, I put trauma. It's in there. It at times has been lodged in my body, and I've needed help releasing it. Okay, and but with that said, I think at some point when you've sat on that couch for too long, you repeat the same story. You're talking about the same story and the same problems after so long. It doesn't really help resolve it, and it gives it life. It gives it more power. It just gives it, right? So, so yes, this is where coaching, I believe, is so supplemental. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have clients that do both. But the coaching is so much more constructive, I find. And you can get down into those areas, those dark, recesses of someone's psyche, and understand, why are you putting up obstacles? What are you afraid of? What is the bit about exposing yourself or feeling vulnerable that's so frightening to you? Because it's keeping you from, gosh, who knows what it's keeping you from, right?
Life, every part of life. I do want to also blow a little bit of air up my skirt. I've been doing this for 20 years as a coach. I've been trained in so many different embodiment practices. Just because you put your shingle up saying you're a coach, a lot of coaches are surface, we could say spiritually bypassing. They want to get you to that feel good moment. And so they just sort of put a Band-Aid on it. I call it sprinkles on top of the ice cream cone of shit. Yeah. And then the session goes well, and you love your coach because your coach doesn't have the capacity to sit and not be liked. So they want to make every single session you feel good, but they don't get lasting change, and they don't get lasting results. Yeah. I often say to my clients, it only gets good when you're like, F you, Allana. I forget if I can swear on your show or not, but I'm just trying to not swear. But until is swearing okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So until you actually say, fuck you, Allana, and I really get up under them, I'm not there to make you like me. Yeah. I'm there to set you free. I'm there to heal your soul and set you free. And so there's going to be these places that are terrifying. And if you don't have a coach that has been there and can be the space of that, you get triggered, they're going to get triggered. Now you got two triggered people. Now that's a shit show.
Yeah.
So you can feel to the best you can until you get in your body and you're actually able to discern. I'd like us to go from picky, which I believe selective, I'd say, is arrogant, just in the mind. Picky, I believe, is a closed heart, an excuse to not get hurt. But when you've done all this integration work, this embodiment work that I'm speaking of, and be damn well, you get a coach that can be there through anything and never let you fall and have the patience of eternity, those two superpowers. Find a coach like that. I am one of these kind of coaches. I love the honor of being able to go into that dark cave, hold their hand, because I know in that cave there is light every single time. I don't hope, I don't think, I know. And so that level of coach, this new superpower arises, and it's called discernment, awareness. You just know pre-thought if something's in alignment or not. There's no need to blame. There's no concern about being rejected. You are just kind, straight, loving truth. And that, oh my God, that's our birthright. Because you can apply that to dating, but you can apply that to lovemaking, to work, to how you talk to the kids.
Yes.
I even remember telling my son when he was little, I learned this, that when we contract in pickiness or concern or skepticism or fear, we literally cut off our awareness. So if I say, be careful, don't run on the road, I have asked him to pull in all of his capacities to be aware and discerning, and I've set him up to get hit by a car. However, if I say, be aware, open wide, be aware, be discerning, now I've supported him in opening and having that sixth sense, that periphery, all of that. And that actually makes him the most safe in the world. So we don't want to do that to our children. We don't want to do that to little you inside either. We don't need to be careful. We need to be open wide and aware. That's the safest place to be.
It also helps that you have walked the walk. And I feel the same way. I feel like I was in the trenches. I was single for longer than some people are alive. I was single, I got married at 51. And I feel like I have the authority to speak on and to help with these kinds of issues because I've walked in your shoes. Yeah. And I come from a lifetime of lifetime athlete, lifelong athlete. I was in the fitness business forever. And I kind of come at it like that. I can definitely see dating and love through the lens of sports in a way, because it is about performance. And it is about believing in yourself. I mean, this is the level that elite athletes have to get to. And so when I deal with my clients and I'm dealing with this sort of hesitancy, this fear that I can't put myself out there, I'm too afraid, I'm gonna fail, I'm gonna get rejected, I'm going to lose. I sort of put my athlete's cap on, and I think, I was that. I remember being that. I'm like that in sports sometimes. I'm still a competitive athlete. I play a lot of competitive tennis. And there are times when I choke. And it's scary because I think I'm better than that, and I'm more evolved than that, and I know better than to choke. I know the deal. I know the game. But it's still hardwired into us, the fear of losing, the fear of failing. The fear of, oh my God, I'm not going to perform. What if I don't perform? What if I don't win? It can really hold someone back. And I feel that is sort of the picky thing, saying like, well, I can't do that because I can't run the risk of being rejected or losing. And so that I find it's interesting. I read a lot of dating content. I don't know if you're sort of reading other people's stuff, and particularly younger people's stuff. And I'm finding a real interesting disconnect or sort of a shift. And let me tell you how I see this. Younger people, single people, are almost like they're picky for a different reason. They're not picky because they lack self-esteem. I think they've been raised with an abundance of praise. They've grown up on participation awards. So they've been told all their lives, you're great, you're so great, you're so great, you're awesome great. You're never going to lose, you're always going to win. And I kind of feel like younger people now don't put themselves out there because of a different kind of a fear. Not so much a lack of self-worth, but maybe too much ego. Too much, is that if that's even a thing. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do. Here's how I see it. I don't believe in competition. I don't think it brings out ultimately the best in a relationship or the planet. I appreciate that you are competitive and the performing and all the rest. I don't think dating is about performing. I have worked very hard to integrate, and I'm not perfect, integrate my 3D world of I'm the winner, you're the loser. I don't choose to live there because there's always a loser all the time.
Yeah.
I also don't choose to always be a winner and always be great. And always, like you're saying, of younger kids who've never had to lose, clean up their mess, make up for the damage done, have the positive effects of regret so that they can become better and evolve into a more compassionate, brave human being. So I don't think winning all the time is the solution either. And as we move up from 3D into 4D and the polarity gets even, my way or the highway, and I'm only going to date a vegan and I need to have sex, this greater polarity just pushes away intimacy. And yet when we pop into 5D, it is a place where it's a win-win for everybody. It's not only a win for yourself to be fully self-expressed and a win for the other person because you're choosing to be an allowance of who they are and who they're not. Their humanity, not their all perfect winness, but you're not there to beat them. Right. Like there's no, you don't get joy out of making someone else lose. In 5D, there's a way that we can all become better. And it no longer becomes about performing in terms of comparing yourself to the outside. It's more about, I guess we could call it authenticity or excellence from the inside that has nothing to do with whether somebody likes you or not, has nothing to do with whether you achieve something or not, has nothing to do with anything on the outside accomplishment wise. It's just this full on, unabashed, yummy expression of I'm sad today. And I'm not going to go, oh, that's bad. I shouldn't have lost my shit there. That's bad. I'm going to judge myself and criticize. No, that's called human.
Right.
And we love our sad human as much as we love our happy human. We love, as you were saying earlier, we love the one who chokes as much as we love the one who knocks it out of the park. Right. We don't judge. 5D doesn't judge, saying you're good, you're bad. You're right, you're wrong. That's 3D and 4D. And I think that's the quickest recipe or dynamic to live in that makes dating hell. Sure. Because you're striving for this outcome and you're trying to be this perfect person. Nobody's always going to win. Nobody. It's not even logical. It's not even statistically possible. Right. You're right. So why don't we ascend and love all these parts of ourselves, which is called an intimate relationship with ourselves, that when I'm sad, I don't have to pretend I'm not. I can be authentic. Yeah. And when I'm happy, I'm not going to downplay to make you comfortable. I'm going to really celebrate. And I'm just going to be real. I'll have, again, that word discernment or awareness as opposed to the other lower vibrational words. I'm going to be aware that if I'm at a funeral, I probably shouldn't sing rock and roll at the top of my lungs. Like I'll be aware of what would be for them. But again, that's back to win-win. What's for the highest good of all? We don't have to be attached to anything because we're already whole on the inside.
It is not. It is not a competition. It is definitely not a race. I just am. I think we all are informed by what we grew up with, what we saw, what we experienced. Sports is a very big part of my life. It still is. And I just kind of interpret everything through that lens. And it did become a competition for me at one point when I was single. And it did become performance and winning and losing. And that didn't make it any easier, and I did beat myself. And I still do when I lose a tennis match. I kick myself. And I think maturity is being able to accept your losses, put yourself out there, step up to the plate. Just step up to the plate. Yeah. How about that? Okay. And then do your best and then be okay. If it doesn't work out, if you don't see the person again or however it goes. And I think that's maturity. That is being evolved. That is ultimately the best kind of security you can find for yourself is being okay. And I make this point over and over again in the book that regardless of how it turns out, if you stay single, you may not meet someone. You're going to be okay. you're going to be just fine. And you have to achieve a level of that kind of self-acceptance. That to me is winning. That's winning. And so, but not even showing up is not the answer, to say that takes you out of the game before you even play, before the coin toss. You're saying, no, I'm too picky. I'm not going to play the game. I'm not going to get on the apps. I'm going to stay on the apps, and I'm not going to meet anyone, or I'm going to meet people, but I'm not going to pick them. Yeah. I've heard it. You've heard it. I think it all kind of just comes down to really a healthy sense of self-worth, which is, to me, dating, that's what dating is. It really is just an exercise in self-worth, right?
Yeah, life is a spiritual practice. My business is a spiritual practice. Dating is a spiritual practice. Everything. So this idea, my son is very into sports, and yet I remember also dating this MMA guy once, and he would go in totally wanting to win. That was his intention, but he wasn't dancing with the fear of losing. He was dancing with the fear itself. Of just being in the unknown, risking, going for it. And at the end of these, they'd kick the crap out of each other, but then they'd hug each other. And they're like, thank you, brother. Like they weren't, I'm sure they preferred to win, not to lose. But he was one of the first people that started to evolve me into more of a collaborative sports way of being rather than a more competitive and really beating himself up. And I think this is the key. If the date doesn't work out, or we don't win that job or that game or whatever it is, humanity means you have a human feeling. There's nothing wrong with being a human.
Right.
But judging yourself for being a human, this is the problem. So, okay, you lost the match, you lost the date, they turned out not to be the one, you're sad. Feel sad, integrate the sadness, come back to presence. The problem is most of us are sad, then we're wrong. Then the judgment comes in, and the criticism comes in, and the self-contempt comes in, and then you shut your heart down, and then you go into your head, and then what's wrong with me? That's the issue. The actual emotion itself is beautiful and just as valuable as happy. And if these people watching me or listening right now, you're free when you don't resist sadness and you don't clamor for happiness. But if you need to be happy all the time and you resist being sad and angry, then your emotions have you. You are not the master of your emotions.
Yes. Because
you're resisting a part of yourself as bad, judging a part of yourself as bad, and saying another part of you is good. Then you're going to go put that into a relationship. And then your partner is sad. Oh, no, don't feel like that. Stop. And then they feel judged, changed, fixed, not safe to be themselves around you. And you just destroyed vulnerability and intimacy and transparency. Yeah. So again, it all comes back to, can I, without judgment, be an allowance with heart open, not just, okay, can we just get over this? That's not allowance. That's the strategy and agenda. Literally being willing to sit with your sad self for eternity, even if that sad self never changes. Yeah. That's unconditional love.
That's unconditional.
And that is a practice. And if you can be that with yourself,
yes, then
you can be that with your lover or who you're dating. And then a lot of gentlemen who come to me who have these performance issues in bed, it's just the same thing that we're talking about right here. They're so attached to the outcome of having to be a certain way or get her to come or do the orgasm, whatever. Yes. And they're not even present. They're not even having fun. They're not even enjoying the moment. And so again, it comes back to, it's kind of funny, but I will be like a penis whisperer or a vagina whisperer. I'll talk to their body and I won't talk to their mind because we know that doesn't do any good. And I'll just be honest and honoring and patient and non-judgmental and just get them. Get what it's like to have not been able to have that orgasm or that erection and the shame or the emasculation. And if we can be with, and there's all sorts of different processes that I've been trained in, but basically the more we try to fix something, the worse we make it. The more we try to change it and make it all pretty and happy, the worse we make it. But total, heart open, compassionate allowance for eternity equals grace and magic. And that's what I get to do, holding space for people and healing these wounds so that they can go into dating, lovemaking, speaking truth around money, all the hard conversations, and have incredible connections, intimacy, safety, and co-creation into something they never even knew was possible because two people are present and together facing the horizon saying, what else is possible that we could do together that we could never do alone? Like, wow. life could be even better.
That's why you are who you are. And that's why I said earlier, you provide a really wonderful service. You come at it from a very spiritual angle. And you're taking people into places that I'm sure they don't know. They never knew existed. That is a good coach. That is mind that's expansive, and that's consciousness raising. And I mean, it is a beautiful thing to drill down, to hold their hand, to hold a client's hand, take them on this journey with them, and watch them transform. It is one of life's. I don't have kids, but I at times feel like a proud parent because I'm helping. I know I am getting somewhere, and I know I'm changing lives. It's very rewarding. I wanted to say something about the win-loss mentality. That you learn a lot from your losses, and I've learned, and I'm going to add in breakups. You learn a lot from your breakups.
Or divorces.
Or your divorces. So do not be afraid of them. They will teach you things. You will learn so much. They will advance your cause. They will advance you along the path. So
if you do the work.
If you do the work. And if you don't let it stop you, or you don't let it completely, undermine you or disempower you. There's so much to be learned from just getting out there, doing it, putting yourself out there. You're not going to be successful all the time, but it will teach you things about yourself. And do not be afraid of it. And be careful with the picky thing. Be careful using that term and hiding behind it. And if you do feel that it's holding you back, if you do feel that it's sabotaging you, that fear, call us. Right? Take a good look at it. It's something to think about, because it usually is a little, tapping on your shoulder that, okay, wait a minute, time out. This can't be. This is I'm either turning down too many people, or I'm not inviting opportunity as much as I should be into my life. Why is that? Why am I putting up obstacles? So, again, it's you won't know until you get there, right? Like, you don't know what you don't know. This is what I tell potential clients. You don't until you get someone like me or you to take a look at them and listen to them, hear their story, hold their hand, right? And then they'll go, whoa, man, you're blowing my mind. I never even thought of this. I never even thought to connect those dots. When you start, and it does take some work. It does take some, going back in time. Tell me about your life. Tell me about your family. Tell me about your childhood. Tell me what your attachment style is. It's all super great and constructive. Anyway, I love talking to you, and we're going to kind of wrap it up soon. Have you enjoyed yourself?
Yeah, thank you.
Did you like it, honey? How'd you like it one-on-one with me?
Well, usually this is how usually normally I've only had one interview with you and Robbie before, maybe two. Most of the time we're doing IG lives, or you're on my podcast, just you. So not to say anything against Robbie, but I always just like a good girl conversation. I wanted to say something about the fear. I think you said don't be afraid. I don't know about you, but I'm afraid all the time. It's not about don't be afraid. It's about when we close our heart and all we have is our mind, then all we can tell our mind is don't be afraid, but that never works. Yeah. But when we are in our hearts and we open them into coherence, then we have courage, which is not the absence of fear, or we have bravery, which is not the absence of fear. So I'm pretty much afraid all the time, but I show up anyways. Yes. And as I show up and I integrate that fear and I don't close to it, it turns into this energy that feels like confidence, sassiness, unapologetic, unattached to the result, aliveness, vitality, exuberance, radiance. It turns into something else. But I don't get there just because I wake up that way and say my 10 affirmations. I get that way by feeling the fear through an open heart, through these processes, and literally like lead into gold. There's an alchemy that occurs in the body, not in the mind, that allows you to be fueled. It's like God or the universe or the divine is literally now has a space to come in as in through you as inspiration and ideas. And hey, let's go to this coffee shop. And because you're living in your body more than your head, you don't go, oh, well, what if I get hurt? No. That's up in the head when our heart is closed. That's a vibration of thoughts. Like our brains don't make up thoughts. Our brains are like a receiver that tune into the field where the thoughts are. The thoughts, you don't open up your head and find the thoughts. That's not where they are. They're in the field, and we tune into them based on our frequency and a vibration. And that's based on our heart. That's how it's all science, what I'm telling you. It's not just my opinion. And we can do work to keep our heart open and brave. And then the vibration rises. And then the thoughts that we pick up on in the universe aren't, well, what if I get hurt? The thought is, well, what if it goes well? And we don't have to try. We don't have to work so hard. We just are tapping into these kind of thoughts of possibility. There's and then when you go into the date, you're just like, hey, you're unattached. You're truly listening. You're not trying to do it right, look good, interrupt, all that stuff. You're just present. Yeah. And people generally find you to be a delight to be with, and you're discerning and you know whether they bring out the best in you, and then you just do it every day. Well, and that's kind of life.
Yes. And there's a pathway to that. I mean, people aren't born necessarily with that level of consciousness. I was not.
My God, no! I was such a hot mess.
It does take some desire. It takes commitment. It takes some openness to feeling some pain. And I mean, this is what I go through with my clients, and I can tell when they're going to be successful because of all the following. They're open to it. They recognize there's an issue. They're committed. Yeah. They're committed to whatever it takes. They're okay with a little healthy pain, and they feel just enough little self-worth that enough just to get the help and say, okay, you know what? I'm deserving of something better. Yeah. I am worthy of something like a better life, a beautiful love, a great body, a fantastic job. There has to be just enough in there that brings them to us, right?
A willingness.
And sometimes, a lot of times, they're not aware. We're not aware. I was not aware of a lot of mistakes I was making when I was single. I was just not aware. I just knew that I kept making the same ones over and over again. Yeah. And I don't know what that moment was where I turned a corner or I got a grip. I think what it took was me getting very quiet inside. Yeah. Not really quiet, like getting all the noise out of my head and all of those preconceived things about, winning and losing and performance, and I've got to do this and I have to make this. I just got quiet enough, very still inside, and I thought something's got to change.
Yeah.
Because I realized that, and I know this to be true, that if you come from a place of fear or desperation or insecurity, you will not make good choices. You just will not. And it is, this is what we do. And we deliver people to a better place, and so that they can make better decisions and choices.
Yeah. Yeah, we walk with them.
Yes, we do. Okay. I could go on and on. Couldn't you? I mean, really, it's maybe we should just, I'll get...
do a series.
Yeah, I'm okay with this one-on-one thing. No, I miss him. I miss him so much. I love my husband so much. He's such a... I hope you're hearing this.
We love you, Robbie!
I love doing this show with him. This just makes me realize how much I miss him. And I love him so much. And I did some work to get to him. And I believe, it took a while. I did the work, the healing work that you were talking about. And I'm so glad I did. It was not easy. I went through a lot of heartbreak, as you know. It is not. But if you want it, if you want to just, I'm not even talking about some kind of, like, as you said, like giant achievement, some tangible thing. How about just peace of mind? How about just feeling, a sense of peacefulness and serenity and contentment? How about just that, right?
Yeah, that's monumental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do love him. I miss him right here. Okay, and we will be back for another episode with him. And in the meantime, I love you so much. Thank you. You're awesome.
Thank you.
And tell us where we can find you, where people can find you.
Thank you. My name is my site, allanapratt.com, 2 L's, two T's. And if you say /quiz, there's an intimacy blind spot assessment. We were saying before, I mean, I can't see my blind spots. You can't see yours, but we can see our clients. And so I have a complimentary quiz that will help you understand. Because if you think you can figure it out, you wouldn't have the issue. But you still have the issue. So it has to be subconscious. It has to be a blind spot because all of the people that I work with are very clever, committed people who do the work. But this is the last piece. And I'm not a beginner coach. I'm there for people who have done a lot of work and they're like, okay, and I'm ready to go all the way. I'm ready to be brave. I'm ready to be humble. I'm ready to have my blind spots revealed. I'm ready to take my power back. I'm ready to be free and whole and attract somebody who's whole. So that's a wonderful resource right there on the site.
Great. All right.
And lastly, I'd say my podcast, Intimate Conversations. There's so many episodes. Please check those out. You are a past guest.
Yes.
And then my YouTube channel has over 5.5 million views. Just search whatever your question is. I'm sure a few videos will pop up and I'll be able to support you. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Treva, for having me back.
Yeah. And you can find out more about me and the book, Done Being Single, A Late Bloomer's Guide to Love. Oh, I hear him. Oh, no, he's not coming in. At my website, trevabrandonsharf.com. You can follow me everywhere at Treva Be Me. You can get subscribed to our podcast, and you can find it, rather, everywhere where podcasts are sold. That's not the way to say it. How do you say it? Available wherever you get your podcasts, right? Okay. I think that's it for now. Lovey, are we good?
You're good.
Okay. I here he comes, the man of should have.
Oh, you're not feeling so well.
Come down here.
Oh, where? Sorry.
This guy. Okay. I just want to say a couple things.
Oh boy. No.
I just want to say, not having you here makes me just realize how much you bring to the show.
You didn't need me.
You bring to my story. You bring so much to my life. I just love you so much.
Thank
you
you,
have been. I must have done something right. I must have, because I magnetized this incredible, magnificent creature into my life, and I am so blessed. And I never take it for granted. I count my blessings every day. It's like icing. Seriously, it's just, anyway, I can go on and on. All right. That's it. We're good. We did good.
You did great.
Yeah. Okay.
Peace out. Thank you for having me back. All my love. Have a beautiful Sunday. I hope you feel better.
Thank you. Me too.
Bye, honey.
I'm Shadow Stevens with my friends Treva and Robbie. See you next week on Done Being Single.